Good morning and welcome to another reading from Rumi's poetry. We have an incredible set of poems. Actually, I'm doing a whole series of little ones this time of Rumi's poetry, some of which are very famous. Um, most of us have read little snippets of his work, a little quote here, a little verse there, and we often don't get the chance to read in depth. Um, But more than reading Rumi's poetry, there is a deeper significance and a meaning to his work. And I think that all of us can gain inspiration in these dark and troubled times by reading some of what he has to say. So, thank you for being here. And so many of you have been joining me in these readings. I'm so delighted. Thank you. It's been an honor having you here. Um, so, today we're going to read a poem that is called, this is from the Coleman Barks edition of uh, The Essential Rumi, it's called, in case you wish to get hold of it. It's available on Amazon. The poem is called A Great Wagon. Now, I want to kind of start off by saying that I'm no expert on poetry, I'm no expert on Rumi, I'm no expert on spirituality, and I'm no expert on you. But what I do have is a feel for his work. I do have a deep knowing and a deep understanding of what he's talking about from my perspective. And I would like to make sure that, I don't need anyone to buy into or believe or agree with anything I'm about to say. So I basically read it from my heart and then share with you what I get. And I would love to have your thoughts and your insights as well, because my word isn't the final word on this topic. None of us is really. I think Rumi, when you're creative, when you're an artist, you put forth something in the world. Very often, you've never thought about it. It's just come to you, and you've just expressed it. So interpretations may be depending on the person who reads, depending on the person who hears, and I invite you to be a participant rather than just a listener. So, whatever your thoughts are, feel free to write them down in the comments. I'll be reading them and I would love to respond as they show up. All right, so let's dive into it. A great wagon. When I see your face, the stones start spinning. Stones is an interesting word. Could he be talking about stones as in just the energy around the room starts spinning? Or perhaps stones was also a term used for runes, which would use to predict the future. So the future starts spinning. I don't know what lies ahead. There's a mystery that is about to unfold. When I see your face, everything begins to, it's like in a swirl. Now, who is this you that he talks about? When I see your face, there are many poems in which Rumi brings up this expression, you. And what he's referring to when he says that is he's referring to you, meaning the friend. This friend that Rumi talks about is the beloved, the divine. So these are expressions that you get familiar with as you read his work, and you begin to understand he's talking about none other than his beloved God. And I don't think he's referring to that God in any of the religious ways that we think of, but rather as an intimate, someone who you have an intimate, deeply romantic, loving, sensual relationship with. And I know this is sacrilegious in most religions to talk about God in that way, but Rumi's relationship is like that of the relationship of Mira in India, where she talks about God in the same way as well as her beloved, as her paramour. Um, I know this is not a construct that the Western world teaches, but it is very much part of the Eastern understanding of the divine. And therefore, we do not view God as this being that sends people to hell and punishes them and none of this nonsense. But rather, someone so loving, rather the essence of love. If you think of what is the essence of love, right? The deepest, the highest quality of love personified, that would be the beloved. So when he says, when I see your face, the stones start spinning. You might even say the universes start spinning or the planets start spinning, right? My mind starts spinning. You appear, all studying wanders. I lose my place. It's as if I cannot hold my sobriety. I cannot hold my sanity. I cannot function anymore when you appear. We've had this happen sometimes when we are in love with someone and that person appears and suddenly we lose our grounding in this world. But imagine if that beloved was someone who was the most beautiful in the entire universe, the source of beauty. If that beloved was the source of light, of love, of all joy, of all happiness, of all peace. Now imagine if all of that personified and appeared in front of you, what would be your condition? Rumi describes his condition. The stones start spinning. All studying. I have been studying. I was reading. He was a scholar, so he was studying very often. All studying wanders. I can no longer focus. I can no longer concentrate. I lose my place in the book, my place in the world. I lose my place. I don't know where I am anymore. Water turns pearly. Water, which is usually clear, suddenly is misty. It's like a fog. Fire dies down and doesn't destroy. Fire no longer burns. Why does fire no longer burn for Rumi in these moments when he sees his beloved? Why is it that fire no longer destroys? Because, in one might say, he has become one with that fire. That fire is enveloping him from within. There is a fire within that is so powerful that the burning fire outside loses its ability to destroy. I have become one with the fire. Rumi continues, in your presence, I don't want what I thought I wanted. You see, we all have desires. Buddha would say that desire is the root cause of suffering. But I think desire is so important in this world. Yes, it may be the root cause of suffering, not because desire is itself inherently bad. We all have desire. There is no way to not desire. A person might give up the world and then begin to desire being in an ashram or a monastery. They might want to desire to go from being a student to being a master. They may desire to read many books or achieve great spiritual accomplishments. There is still desire. So desire doesn't go away. It must be transformed. Desire will always be lurking. Because in fact, as souls, as spiritual beings, the desire is actually to be more. It is to expand. It is to take this minuscule, tiny little being that is the soul and to expand its capabilities, to find our truest possibility, our potential. Our potential is infinite. There is nothing we are incapable of. If you've ever felt to yourself, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that, that's not true. That's not true. That's your mind making stuff up. I've gone from so many different paths of life, learning so many different ways of doing things, skills that I never thought I would have, making videos like this, or how to use a hammer or a nail, things I never learned as growing up. And I've learned one thing: there is nothing we cannot do. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes perseverance, but we can, and we do, and we will. No one would have thought humanity would be doing the things we do today, driving around in cars and flying in airplanes, and yet we do. It's wild. So Rumi says, in your presence, I don't want what I thought I wanted. See, desire vanishes. Ultimately, desire is what I think I want. And this is why advertisers can manipulate us, is because they put into us the thoughts of what we should want, and then we go out and we buy things. So they manipulate our desire. And this can be a social construct. It can be, oh, I want to buy this book of Rumi, or whatever else, because Rohit's talking about it now, and let's go get that. So now suddenly a desire is born. But the idea here is this: whatever you desire vanishes in the face of your beloved. There is nothing else you desire. When you have reached the ultimate destination, there is nowhere else to go. And that is the place that Rumi talks of here, that when I see my beloved, then I suddenly want nothing further. I have reached the epitome of my desire. I have reached the epitome, the ultimate, the mountaintop, the pinnacle of desire. If you are going to desire something, why not desire that? If you are going to desire something, why desire the trinkets and toys of the world when the treasure house that you seek lies within? Right? This has been said by Christ, it's been said by Rumi. Perhaps I said it in my own way right now, I don't know. But in your presence, I don't want what I thought I wanted. Those three little hanging lamps. So, he's just giving some example of what he thought he wanted. Those three little hanging lamps. But yeah, we want those little toys, those trinkets. Inside your face, the ancient manuscripts seem like rusty mirrors. Oh my God. The ancient manuscripts he's talking about are scriptures. The ancient manuscripts here are words of wisdom from the past, handed down over time. But he says
Here's something I found on the web. According to barandesvis.com,
God, would you
since adages
go away? Sorry about that, guys. Inside your face, the ancient manuscripts seem like rusty mirrors. So the ancient manuscripts refers to scriptures, and he says they appear like rusty mirrors. What is something when it's rusty? It's filled with crud, right? That takes away the shine of that metal. So that analogy of a rusty mirror, of course mirrors don't get rusty, but it's a beautiful analogy. In other words, you no longer can see what is in front of, if it was rusty, if it was filled with crud, that mirror, you couldn't see things clearly. And similarly, he says the ancient scriptures, the ancient manuscripts seem like rusty mirrors. Why? Because now you have your beloved in front of you. You have the real thing, not just what somebody wrote or what someone professed in a scripture or in a book or somewhere else. This is the real experience Rumi invites us to, is the direct experience of the divine. This is what all mystics have been calling us to, is to experience the divine within ourselves, to realize that you can have a direct connection with that which is called God. However you envision that, as a light or as a being, doesn't matter. The point being that you can have a direct relationship. You can see and experience and feel the beloved. You can hear the divine. This is possible for all of us. Rumi continues, you breathe, new shapes appear, and the music of a desire as widespread as spring begins to move like a great wagon. Let's read this slowly. You breathe. You feel the breath, the heartbeat, the soul of your beloved. New shapes appear. New universes appear. New possibilities appear. New dreams appear. New visions appear. And the music of a desire as widespread as spring begins to move like a great wagon. The music of a desire. See, a new desire is born. Desire never goes away. The music of a desire. Now, this is desire that is tantalizing. All desire actually is like calling you somewhere. All desire is calling you. It could be an object, it could be a person, it could be God or the divine. But that desire is calling you somewhere, right? Like there was that story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, who was the Pied Piper, who's like, playing his flute. Um, but music this is a music of desire as widespread as spring. Now, this desire is not a small little desire. It's not about buying a car, a house, a TV, or something like that, Christmas present for yourself, but rather it is as widespread as spring. It's huge. Spring is all about desire, the desire of the earth blossoming and the flowers emerging, right? So desire as widespread as spring begins to move like a great wagon. Drive slowly, he says. Drive slowly. Some of us walking alongside are lame. He's speaking to the beloved. He's talking to God. He's talking to the divine. Don't go too fast. Some of us are lame. Some of us are not very capable. We are not as strong as you are. We are not as powerful as you are. Go slowly. Help us move our human wagon, that this burden that we carry, and help it integrate with that which you are. Let us become one with that spirit that you are. Like a great wagon, you are now moving us forward. You are compelling us in this direction. You are driving us into this mystery of your being, of your presence. Go slowly. Some of us are rather lame. As we walk alongside, give us the space to integrate what you're showing us. Then continues, today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Have you ever had that experience where you woke up empty and frightened, not knowing what the day was going to hold, not knowing where things were going to go? Perhaps there was something ominous in your life, something that was scary, something that didn't quite make sense. And did you wake up perhaps empty and frightened? And then he says, don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. So a lot of times when we feel fear, when we feel emotions, we tend to go towards a distraction. We want to find something to distract us. We want to watch a movie or get on Netflix or read a book or talk to somebody. But he says instead, take down a musical instrument. What does music do that these distractions don't do? It's an interesting question to look at. In my experience, it lifts us. It lifts us, especially if you play an instrument, and I don't. So I can only, I do somewhat, a little bit. But I know what it does. You have to become one with it. You have to let it transport you into its world. And now when it transports you into its world, you lose all the worry and all the concern and all the fear that was dogging your mind and that you woke up with that morning. So he says, instead of distracting yourself, do something creative, right? Maybe a journal, maybe a musical instrument, whatever is comfortable for you. Cook something. Find a creative outlet instead of sitting down to worry, because worry makes you think, right? Fear makes you think. Oh, what if this, what then, about the past, about the future, about the present. Instead, become focused on something in the present moment that you can allow yourself to step away from your thoughts till the point comes where you're able to be completely out of the thought. The thought is no longer engulfing you. The thought has no longer captured you. You have been able to step out of its grip. And when you're able to step out of its grip, then at that time, you'll be able to challenge it and question it and see whether maybe in fact it makes any sense or not. But it's very hard to question a thought when you're in the thought, when you are captivated by the thought, when you have become engulfed by its ramifications, because in fact most thoughts I have found are actually quite untrue. Hmm. I have some lovely sharing here by Betsy. While I was ascending, I started crying a lot because of all the realizations. I felt like I scared away my power. Please help me. Hmm. You know, Betsy, the experience you have as you start ascending, as you start awakening your soul, that power causes tears to come into the eyes. Those are tears of joy. Those are tears of perhaps even being overwhelmed because there's so much flowing through you, right? And when that happens, there are so many realizations. You start to see things clearly in a way you couldn't see before. Before we were blinded, and now suddenly our eyes are open. And yes, it's good to feel scared of your power, but let that fear turn into humility, because this awakening, this ascending is something of that is a divine miracle that is being given to you. Go into a place of deep gratitude, go into a place of deep humility. To receive, you will receive even more then, because in humility you will become grounded. In humility you will find yourself in a place of nothingness. Because you see, when you feel and experience that you have great power, it's very easy to get arrogant, to get proud, to get carried away. Instead, bow your head. Thank the divine, thank God for the gifts that you are receiving, and you shall receive even more. And the more you are able to empty yourself of that egoic part that wants to feel powerful and great, the more you will receive. And the more your humility, the deeper will be your wisdom. I hope that helps. Rumi continues, let the beauty we love be what we do. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? This is magic. Let the beauty we love be what we do. How do you, you look at a sunset and you think how beautiful it is. You look at a flower and see how beautiful it is. You look work of art. How can you do, or how can you take beauty that you see out there and make it what you do? How? How do you transform your daily mundane activity into an act of beauty? Anyone want to share your thoughts and realizations? I'd love to hear. It's an open question. How do you transform your mundane thought activities into an act of beauty? For me, the thought is in when I let go of my mind and ego and step into the activity, when I no longer exist, then what moves through me is an energy that I call beauty. That energy is the energy of God. It is the energy of the universe. It is the energy that makes everything beautiful. And when it moves through me, then that activity becomes beautiful. It could be just as mundane as washing dishes or cleaning something, or whatever, right? Or it could be writing. It could be a creative pursuit. But in all cases, yes, Jody, it's about being present. And love that. Thank you. But in that presence, what flows through you, and this is the important part to understand, in that presence, what flows through you is an energy that is more than just being present. Presence is just is the mm, is the act. This is what we do. We're present. Present means being focused. Present means cutting out all other things except that which is in front of you. Now, as you are deeply present, something miraculous happens. And that is that you have opened up the doorway for the energy of the divine, of God, to flow through you. You have become a conduit in that moment. And what you feel in that moment of presence is this sense of being uplifted, of being carried, of being transported into another realm. That realm is as real, in fact, more real than this one here. And we have access to it 24/7. Know that. It is not far away. It is not somewhere out there, but it is in here right now. We have access to it. So let the beauty we love be what we do. Take down this line, write it, paste it, post it everywhere. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Mm. This is where he's referring to what I said earlier, which is that if you truly want to become, to experience the divine moving in your life, creating through you, living through you, expressing through you, talking through you, then learn the path of humility. He speaks of it like this: there are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. So, this kneeling, this kissing the ground, this act of humility, this is the physical expression of that. More important than the physical expression is the heartfelt expression of recognizing, of realizing that I am insignificant, I am nothing. You are all that is. You, as in the divine, as in the beloved, are all that is. Make me as you are. Come to me and through me into this world, and allow me to express you into into this world. Let me become a conduit for your love, for your essence, for your being, for that which you are. Then Rumi continues, out, and this you've heard this before, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. What is this field? What does he mean out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing? Think about it. What are these ideas of wrongdoing and right doing? Isn't that what we do all the time with our mind? We're constantly thinking, I should have done this, should not have done that. You should have done this, you should not have done that. This is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. Isn't that what we're constantly doing? Right? And what does it mean? It means that we are sitting in our mind. Our mind is constantly creating duality. Duality is this idea of positive and negative. As long as something is positive or negative, you are in your mind. As long as there is something that should be done and should not be done, you are in the grip, the hold, the clutches, you are a prisoner of your mind. Really deeply understand this. The whole basis of this human suffering is duality. Duality means that you see something as right and something as wrong, something as good and something as evil, something as good or bad, whichever way you look at it. And when you start, whenever we think in terms of you should have done that, you should not have done that, we are in the clutches, the grip of our mind. We are a prisoner hijacked by our mind. So Rumi says here, out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. There is a field meaning a space of energy. He's not talking about a literal field. It's a field of possibility, the field meaning consciousness, meaning the universe. Out beyond this thinking of your mind is another realm. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. My 3-year-old niece would actually taught me this philosophy when she was 3. Now she's much older. She's in her 20s. But when she was 3 years old, you'd show her a vanilla ice cream or a strawberry ice cream, and you'd say, which is better? And she'd say, both are best. And then she had another thing she'd like to say all the time, which is, nothing matters. I was like, what is this kid saying? 3 years old. Why does she say things like this? What does it mean? And let it sit with me. And then one day it all clicked together. I understood that if you could see both sides of duality, that which you like and that which you do not like, that which you agree with and that which you disagree with, if you could see both sides of a situation, like if you and I are having an argument and I can stop and listen to what you say and you will stop and listen to what I say, the argument will collapse and fall. There will be no argument. We will have stepped out of duality, and once we step out of duality, we have stepped out of our head, and we will be able to step into our heart and connect with each other all over again. The fighting will stop, the arguing will stop, and we will be in a space of love. This is where the divine enters. This is where God is present. So, with that story of my niece, it was when you're able to see both sides of duality, then nothing matters. Suffering dissolves. And so Rumi is saying here, out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, when the soul, and most people don't read this part of it, when the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Then words disappear. Then there is nothing to be said. Then suddenly our thoughts no longer exist. We are just in the moment, experiencing and enjoying the aphrodisiacal, the intoxicating nature of the spirit that is moving through us. So the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, and even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Meaning, I no longer feel a separation between you and me. There is no each other. There is only you, this oneness that we now experience. I feel no separation from you in that moment. There is only this coming together. There is no you and me. There is no this and that. There is no this thought and that thought, this opinion and that opinion. We've gotten so polarized in our present time that we've become separated from each other and developing animosity towards each other. And here is the answer: to go beyond the field of right doing and wrong doing. In all of these arguments that you see on social media and all these places where you see people arguing about vaccines or arguing about this or arguing about that, wrongdoing and right doing is the essence. We are all in our head. So whether there is a scripture that is telling you this is the right way to do things or the wrong way to do things, or whether it is we becoming the upholders of some form of wrongdoing and right doing, it's all the same game. We're all in our head. We're all in our ego. The moment you think you're right, your ego is running the show. The soul knows, I am never right. I am never wrong. There is no such thing as right or wrong. I just am. I cannot be defined by anything. I cannot be known by this temporary nonsense that the mind makes up. Jody Love writes something beautiful. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but it's beautiful. Yes, for the first time in my life, I feel connected to everyone and everything. It is real, it is amazing, and the only way I can be now. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That is so beautiful. And truly, when you experience this, even if it's for a moment, you will feel that all sense of duality dissolves. Duality dissolves. And when it dissolves, there is nothing else that needs to exist, right? It doesn't mean that you and I cease to exist. We cease to exist, but we experience a bond, a sense of oneness. Now, this can happen in your connection with nature, it can happen in your connection with each other, it can happen in your connection with a child, or with a dog, or with anyone, right? Okay, I think we're probably going over time, so I think I'll pause here. Um, I'll be back next week on Monday. But if you want me to continue, give me a thumbs up or something and tell me that you'd like me to continue, and let's continue. Is anyone ready for more? There's a lot of you here on the chat, so all right, maybe we've had enough. All right, we'll come back next week, Monday, and I'd love to read to you some more from Rumi, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. Might be a few minutes off, but hang in there, and I would love to share with you. Meanwhile, if you have any more questions or thoughts or your realizations that you want to share, I'm on Instagram at rohitjuneja.us. You'll also find me on my website, rohitjuneja.com. And I look forward to hearing from you. If you like this kind of work, My book, Loving Soulfully, is available for free at lovingsoulfully.com. I do write about similar things, and you can download it free. All right. Have a wonderful day. And I think by the time we meet again, um, please, anyway, wish you happy holidays and Merry Christmas and all of that. So take care. Lots of love. See you soon.